This is a quick little demo showing SpecView support for the West EC44 profiler controller. It's not particularly fancy, but shows you the basics. This screen's all about controlling the profiler. It has a bunch of parameters. These are found on the variables list. This configuration has the loop 1 and loop 2 and the profiler instrument views for the ProView created. And if you look at the bottom of loop 1, scrolling all the way down to the bottom here, let's just make that a bit wider, that a bit narrower. These parameters here are the ones that I've put on the screen over here. So they're at the bottom of the loop 1 instrument view. They show basically the status of the controller. Let's just close the variables list. The profiler control parameter is how you run or hold or resume. Normally on the EC44 over comms you would have to set one of these statuses and then issue a send profile command, but in SpecView we have combined that and made it automatic so that just setting run will actually work, and as you can see the profiler is now running. I've put those commands on these buttons to make it easier to play with it, so I can hold it just by clicking the button. You can see it's held, and I can easily abort and exit the profiler. So that's a quick overview of the status. Now, profiles in the EC44, there are no fixed profiles. As shipped from the factory, there are no profiles in it and no segments. So one of the first things to do is to create a profile. So I have here, it's worth mentioning, all this stuff with profiles can only be done when the profiler is not already running. So on these screens I've put the status end control to just be a reminder for me that the profiler is or is not working. So creating and deleting profiles. I already have one profile in this controller, so this indicates that the next profile number is number 2. All this stuff is in the profiler instrument view. If we open that up and just scroll down a bit, here we are. This bunch of parameters here, let's just make that a bit wider still. This bunch of parameters here is basically what I've got on the screen: profile name, next profile number, create, delete profiles, all that stuff. That's there in the profiler instrument view. I already have one profile in the controller, so the next one would be number 2. So to create a profile, we type in a name, like test, and click create profile. Are you sure? Yes. And now we'll see the next profile number has jumped to 3. So now we've got a profile in there with no segments, and we can now add segments. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that now. So, edit the profile. Now, each profile has a little header to it, and so here I'm editing profile number 2, the one I've just created. It has been created, it is valid. These are all the various start options and stuff like that. Again, can only be done while not running. These parameters are also in the profiler instrument view. It's this little block down here, which is fairly near the top. So that's that lot. And now we can edit some segments. So here is our newly created profile number 2. It just consists of one end step which the controller has automatically created. Now this screen is, as it says down here, it is a single shot editing screen, so there is no recipe in here. It just allows me to select any parameter and change it. So if I want the first segment to be a ramp, I can click on here and make it a ramp time. Now, one of the features of SpecView is that it automatically inserted the segments. We don't need to worry about issuing insert segment commands or all that stuff. It's automatically moved the end segment up there. And now I can type in my numbers for whatever. The reason that the screen flips out all the time is because any change to any of these numbers could possibly affect some of the other segments, and so we refresh the screen after each one. This would make downloading recipes very, very slow, because they're downloaded one at a time, and the West EC44 protocol is such that you have to download them all in one go, so it would be sending lots of unnecessary data each time. So there is a better way, which I'll come on to later. Anyway, it is possible to create segments this way. This is all the data for each segment. That stuff is in the variables list. We've split it into here. Here's all the stuff for segment 1, and going down, here's all the stuff for segment 2, and in SpecView we've created segments 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all the way down to segment 30. So you could create a recipe screen with up to 30 segments on it. There is a way to do more, but 30 segments is enough for now. So if I flip back to the profile that I've created previously, and we do this by changing the edit profile number command, so if I make that 1, we can now see the profile that I have previously created that was running at the beginning. It's a ramp time, a dwell, a ramp rate, little dwell, and then a ramp, and then an end, with various assorted parameters. All of these could have been entered single shot, but as I say, it would take a long time to do that, or to download recipes. If you're running this config, there's some help screens that explain this in a little bit more detail. The better way to download recipes into the EC44 is to use SpecView's recipe system, and I've created a screen which looks almost identical to this but has got recipe enabled on it, so I'm just going to switch to that one now. Okay, here we are. Now, one of the features of SpecView that other SCADA packages don't have is we have the ability to collect the numbers that the user has typed into a recipe and to sort them out into a specific order that is the optimum order for downloading to the EC44. And to do this, there are two special parameters down here. One's called store write mode and one's called send write mode. So for optimum recipe downloading, we tell it to go into store mode. We download all the numbers, but they don't actually go to the controller at that point. They're just stored inside the SpecView driver. And then when we issue the send write mode, the SpecView driver sorts all these parameters into the right order, does all the insert or delete segments as needed to make the end step in the right place, and then it writes the recipe down in as few comms transactions as possible. For example, this is a 6-segment program. SpecView would just issue 6 commands over comms, writing all this data down. So let's have a look at how this works. So in the recipe manager, I have defined each of these things to be in recipe, and that's why they've got black boxes. And if we look at the recipe that's actually running, you'll see down here store mode is store and send mode is send. These items are actually at different recipe levels, and there's information on how you set up or what recipe levels mean down in here, but essentially this store command is going to go first, and then all of this data is going to go second, and then the send command is going to go last. So you can change values in here, 3500, make it go fast, that's there, and when I click send, SpecView's downloading it into the driver. Now the driver's doing the 6 transactions, and now that is in the controller. Look in the help for how the SpecView recipe system works. This is not specific to the EC44, this is just how SpecView recipes work in general. So if we exit from that, recipe not saved, yeah, that's fine. Go back to the profile control and then run it, and off it will go. So basically, to do the whole job, you need to be aware of which bits are used for monitoring, how to create and delete profiles, filling out the profile header. Notice these are all unavailable because the profiler is running now, and editing segments either in single shot or via SpecView's recipe system. SpecView's recipe system is very flexible. You can make screens that look exactly how you want. You don't have to have all of these things. I've just put them down there to show you that everything is available in SpecView without exception. And that's basically it. This configuration is available to start with. Have fun with it.